Joining us this week on the Oblivion Bar Podcast is the creative team behind the upcoming Image Comics epic horror fantasy, Kill Your Darlings. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome Griffin Sheridan, Ethan Parker, and Bob Quinn onto the Oblivion Bar Podcast. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So great to have all three of you here. It's been, we were talking briefly before the show, and this has been kind of a long time coming. And I don't want to get fully in the weeds to like our relationship and, our both romantic and platonic relationships. But I will say that I very distinctly remember walking to New York Comic Con 2022, and you guys just offhandedly said, well, we've been working on a series, we've been working on a story. I don't think we ever actually talked about the, minute details or anything, but you had mentioned it. And I was just so excited. We were bouncing ideas, and then here we are, August 2023, and this thing is less than a month away now from happening. What are your guys' initial thoughts going into this? Griffin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. You say in less than a month, and I look up at the date here, and I'm like, no shit, it is August 7th. Issue 1 drops September 6th. It is surreal. It has been a very long time coming. It's going to be, I think we're even past it already at this point. We've been working on this thing, Ethan and I, for 3 years. Bob has been with us for like a year and a half now. Yep. Which that's kind of crazy to say. It kind of feels like just yesterday we slid into your inbox. There's a lot of gratitude. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of nerves. But also I'm so confident in the book, and I think we've got something really awesome on our hands. So yeah, it's a lot of things at once, Chris.
Yeah, it keeps making my stomach lurch. I mean, it's crazy because it's like we've written so much of it now. We're almost done writing it. And we've shown it to so many people at this point, so many people that we admire, and we've heard such nice things. And so it's like, we're very confident in it, but still, it's like knowing that it's going to just come out is like, every time I think about it, it makes me, like tense, and the fact that I'm about to get the comps in the mail, I'm going to see the physical books for the first time. That makes my stomach lurch. It's like a very, it's crazy how it's still just like pokes that part of your brain and makes just like a bunch of chemicals flood through your bloodstream. It's like, oh my God, this is like a big deal, and my whole body's amped. Yeah.
Now look at me over here, the grizzled veteran, going, "Yep, there's some more comps for the shelf." Like, yep, here comes the next one.
Bob just pulls it out of the mail, looks at it, and goes right over the shoulder.
Put that on the pile.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like, this is my first like big sort of like creator-owned series, right? Which is a big change of pace from doing like, big two garbage. Well, not garbage, but you know what I mean. It's doing like no, come on. But it's a super different feeling, and to have something that you've sort of created from whole cloth, as opposed to relying on decades of pre-existing knowledge of a thing, and it's real special. There's no better feeling as a creative person to finally have something that you've been laboring over that is very personal to you out in the world. It's just the best.
Sure. Well, let's go ahead. I want to get the basics out of the way. Let the the listenership and the audience kind of know what we're talking about here. So while we were just talking about how, Bob, you've been in the meeting for quite a while, but Kill Your Darlings is actually your inaugural comic series, along with letters from John J. Hill. So I'm going to give you guys kind of the basic synopsis here. So 8-year-old Rose loves nothing more than to play pretend in a magical land of her own creation. To her, the world is as real as her own, from her fluffy friends to a terrible evil that lurks in the center of it all. In one night, the line between fantasy and reality will disappear on an ancient hunger that will feed again, and Rose will be pulled into a gruesome saga that began centuries before her birth. So, again, like we just said, with the series, quickly approaching, September 6th is when it is going to be hitting your local comic book shop. You three have been running the publicity circuit, with shows like Comic Pop, Word Balloon, AIPT, Comic Book Club over on YouTube, promoting this series. And I know you've been answering a lot of those boilerplate questions along the way, but I do have some similar questions for our audience sake. And Ethan, I'll kind of start with you here with this question. Yeah. You said previously with this story, and we just talked about it, with this being in development for 3 years, what would you feel is what's been the most challenging aspect going into this first issue?
Most challenging aspect.
Oh, see, we weren't ready for the switch ups. We've been doing the same questions. I feel like a lot of shows.
I'm going to give you guys everything opposite of what I've heard from all of those other shows.
I'm excited about this. I love it.
I like that. No, but funny enough, it does kind of line up with something we have been talking about a bit, because I do think the biggest hurdle has been figuring out the collaboration in especially in relation to yourself. Griffin and I keep talking about how, like, with this book, we had to learn how to write in general and then also write together. And it's like, we'd both written before, we'd both done a lot of stuff before, but it's just a different ball game with this book. It's just like, this has to be the very best we can possibly do. Like, we can't cut a single corner, and this has to be everything we have. And so, it's writing with a capital W. It's like, this is like it. This is not like other writing we've done. And so doing that and trying to figure out, what kind of writer am I? What kind of stories do I want to tell? How do I want to tell them? What is my style? What is my voice? Trying to figure that out, and then also at the same time figuring out how to share that process with a co-writer who is also asking those same questions of themselves. I think has been the biggest thing. And because with Bob, it's like all so smooth, and it's always been so smooth. Like, he came on at the same page as us, and he's just always right on the level, and like always capturing either exactly what we thought or elevating it. But Griffin and I, like, we had to figure it out. It was like pulling teeth for a bit. It was really tough figuring out how to send scripts back and forth, and how to, like, make something that is both what we want to put out, but also it is both of our voices. And so, yeah, like, once we got that nailed and we figured out how to let each other do what we think we're best at and what we like to do the most, it became a joy, and it continues to be a joy. But I think, that was the biggest thing to get over for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the series as a whole, that has definitely been it. And I think as far as the first issue was pretty formed for a long time as far as everything that was going to happen in it. And then when it came down to making it, it was all about what is the most interesting way we can pull off all of these beats that we know have been in the first issue for a really long time. And Ethan and I think, have a particular idea of what a first issue should be. And thankfully, Bob just came in and absolutely knocked it out of the park. The parts of it that we were the most nervous about, will they work, won't they work? Bob came in and absolutely sold them. So we're super excited about it.
Definitely.
If you're looking for the thing that's been a challenge for me, look, man, I've been doing this for too long. It's easy. This is easy stuff. I love it. Every day, sit down in the art mines, and then just get the pickaxe out until that fully formed beautiful page gem comes out, and then ship it off the Dropbox, baby. That's the job.
They pile shit up there in Dropbox. Yep, it's excellent.
Yeah. I heard the Dropbox talk on Comic Pop. You guys talked about how that's been such a challenge for you guys to try to navigate.
Not a challenge for us guys. It's a challenge for one person.
We won't name any names here.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the anonymity. Thank you.
For everyone listening at home, that was Griffin that just said that. Oh, no. Yeah, well, and Bob, we talked about this on Twitter earlier today. I'm gonna butter you up a little bit. This is the best that I've ever seen from you. This is truly, with you doing the inks and the colors, all of it together. It real like every page I'm looking at right now next to me, and it really is incredible. Like it's awesome.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. So the thing that I was probably most excited about on this book was when Ethan and Griffin said, "Yeah, please do color it yourself," because I mean, on their end, they didn't have to hire somebody else, which would have been a big pain in the butt. But then on my end, when you're an artiste, pinky in the air or whatever it is, you sometimes when you're in sort of the not I'm gonna say conveyor belt, but like the what is that thing?
The churn?
Yeah, the assembly line. There we go. The assembly line sort of comics of getting out your monthly book and stuff like that. Sometimes, in order to make sure that everybody feels as though they've had their creative input on it. You have to make certain compromises, right? And you go, well, that's not how I would have wanted it necessarily colored, but he's doing his thing and he's doing a good job, so it's good enough for me. But with this book, I'm not having to withhold notes because we're past due date. I can just do the page exactly the way I want to do it, and if there's anything I regret, that's on me because I didn't do it. And it's very nice to have that, to not have to compromise, essentially. And to finally, like, to put out a book for the first time in a long time that I go, yes, that's exactly how I had it in my head, which is, you can't beat it.
Well, Bob, kind of along those same lines, I've heard you say that when Ethan and Griffin reached out to you to illustrate this series, you were kind of surprised by how polished the script and the pitch was. Was there a specific thing that stood out in that initial pitch or the email or what have you that said, I'm fucking doing this? Like, I'm doing this.
It's funny. So the overall concept, because they literally just sent me like a 1-pager, and it was this thing where I read it and I was like, well, this is the kind of thing I would have written for myself if I was going to spend a bunch of time doing my own work. And I was like, well, it's going to save me a lot of trouble because I don't want to write it. Right. So when it was like that, it was like, okay, well, they're doing something that I would have wanted to do anyway. And when we talked on the phone, or had our first Skype call or whatever, I was like, these dudes are awesome. We get along really, really well. I much prefer making things with people that I enjoy the company of. So that made the decision on my end super easy. And then the only thing I had to kind of wring my hands about is like, is the script going to be any good? Because, I haven't read anything from them before. And so I just kind of had to put my faith in the fact that these guys are not stupid, that these guys like, but like, and that the thoughtfulness and that our conversations, the thoughtfulness of our conversations and the quality of the pitch is going to translate into the scripts. And I've never been, I will go as far as not only have I never been disappointed, I've been delighted every time a script hits my inbox. I'm so excited when a new one shows up because I'm like, what are we getting into now? Like, what horrible thing are we doing to this poor child now?
To say you are delighted when each one we've given you gets progressively more
awful.
What are we doing to Rose this week?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, coming into this conversation, I had the opportunity to read the first 2 issues, and I mean this with complete sincerity. We talked about this a little bit before the show. To you three and everyone listening at home right now, this intro to this series is fucking awesome. Like, it is truly phenomenal. The flow of the worlds, the stakes, both in reality and in Rose's world, the cliffhanger at the end of issue 1. This is just 100% my jam. So I just want to firstly just kind of lay that. I should have said that from the very beginning, but like everyone that's still listening to this conversation and including you three, I'm telling you right now, between this and I want to say The Hunger in the Dusk by G. Willow Wilson over at IDW. These have been my 2 favorite first issues of the entire year thus far.
Wow.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, man.
Really appreciate
Good company.
It. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've told a couple friends whenever I told them that you guys were coming on the show, clearly we've been friends before this show, but I always wanted to go into this with, I'm going to help you guys. I want to help promote this series regardless because I really like you guys. Right. But now that I've read the actual series, it's easy. Like, even if I didn't like you guys, I would have you on and want to talk about it because it's really incredible.
Sweet.
That's really nice. We've had people say to us, like that we've needed to help promote or like do a pull quote or whatever. Like we've gotten several times like, oh, thank God this wasn't shit. That would have been really uncomfortable. Like, yeah.
Well, Griffin, you said in the author remarks section that you hope that this story makes the reader feel something or maybe realize something about themselves or maybe the world around them. What did this story or this process of making Kill Your Darlings make you discover about yourself?
That's a good question.
Oh boy. I mean,
a really good question.
Excellent. Yes. Ethan and I, we're co-writing an extremely personal thing, but there's 2 of us, and we have almost hilariously lived very similar lives, and but not completely so, and there have been moments where writing will sometimes pivot into a therapy session because there is so much of us on the page. There is, or we're hoping so, and that has given way to some things. I don't know if I'm quite looking to get into them all on the podcast here. They're kind of personal, but I will also say that, you know, I think the point of any art is to elicit an emotional response out of you. I think any art that just sort of leaves you hanging and just sitting there going, this is a thing I looked at or listened to, and now I'm done looking at it or listening to it, and I have no thoughts about it. I think
that's kind of the worst feeling.
Not great. Yeah. I think
I would rather hate something than feel nothing.
Oh yeah,
of course. And even in that same vein, like you know, we're writing a book that can sometimes be really upsetting and sad, and those are all fine emotions to feel as well. So mostly we want folks to do that. And as far as what I have gotten from the experience, what I've realized about myself, a great many things, but also we're not done writing it yet. And so it is a finite thing. So we're writing the penultimate issue right now, and the finale will be next. And I feel like I won't be able to fully process everything until we've put that last period on it, because I also think that while Rose in the finale will have a great many things to reckon with, I think that's the same case with us writing it. And so I'm not 100% sure yet, Chris. I'm sorry that's such a vague answer to your really pointed and great question.
We'll put a pin in it until New York. Then we can, fully analyze
we'll
it.
Follow up to it. Yeah.
After a couple shots.
Yeah, no shit.
My therapist had me describe the book to her, and she pointed out that some events that I described, she was like, "Didn't you say that's like one of the things you're most afraid of?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. No, that's interesting." The book is it's like it's teaching me a lot about what kind of storyteller I am, obviously, and like what my stances on things are. And like even there's been moments where Griffin and I have been like, "Oh, but we don't actually feel that way about." I'm sorry I have to be so vague, but we don't actually feel that way about this particular thing. So the outcome should probably be different. And like. There have been moments of us being like, well, why would that happen? Yeah. That's not what we're trying to say. And so it's like we're learning sort of what our instincts are, what kinds of feelings we want to put out into the world. And then I'm also learning about some of my own neuroses and fears, and that's all interesting too. There's lessons to be learned all over the place from making something where you have poured your whole heart and soul into it. You go, oh, there's like, look at this and look at this, just picking out bits of heart and soul.
We're just trying to be, I think, very honest with it, and so that means also being honest with ourselves, and then that's where the
very
realization comes in. Men will literally spend 3 years and endless hours making a comic book instead of going to therapy.
I was talking to a good friend of mine in the industry, Christian Ward, and he said that sometimes when it comes to writing or creating comics, you have to fully let yourself out onto the page. If you don't do that, then you're not doing a sincere piece of work. And for a lot of us, I'll even throw myself, if we're going to be oversharing at this conversation, which I hope we can, I will say that my biggest toxic trait is that in moments of turmoil, I will revert into my shell and kind of just try my best to not make it anybody else's problem but my own. And I feel like as someone who, I'll just kind of shamelessly say that I also love to write. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near your guys' level, but like I like doing this kind of thing. And when it comes to putting things on page, compared to speaking it out loud to someone next to me, whether I love them or I don't know them or whatever, for some reason it feels easier. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you feel similar to that?
You mean it feels easier in conversation than like writing it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think it feels easier to opposite. Put it on page.
Interesting.
I think definitely. Okay, first backtracking. I'm extremely excited. You've teased me with this project that you are working on, Chris, and I'm very excited to read it.
It's not about me, Ethan.
That's okay. I just wanted to backtrack. You're talking about your writing.
Yeah.
Don't down yourself, man. I am very excited to read it.
Kidding.
I'm sure you have it in you. Just based on this conversation alone, I know you do. But as far as writing versus like speaking, sometimes I just feel like, your emotions can be such a strong thing, and they are such a fleeting thing that if you're talking to somebody and it turns out to be an emotional conversation, you might even end up saying things that you don't actually mean because your emotions are the ones driving the car at that point. And after the fact, when you're writing, you've had more time to process it and all that stuff. I think that's where the real honesty comes from, because you've had time to mull it over. So I think I would agree.
Yeah, but I think there are times when it can be scarier in its own way, sort of, where it's like because when you're making something, you're telling the world like, this is like who I am in terms of this is what I like, this is what excites me, this is what upsets me, this is what I'm afraid of, this is like, and you don't often have to have a conversation where you're saying that much about yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like where you're really just laying yourself bare. So yeah, I certainly agree with the assessment, but there are times when you finish writing something like that and it's just like, oh boy, if people don't like that, then that says a lot about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that really is me. So it's got its own fear. Yeah.
For me, honestly, putting it all out there on the line and being extremely vulnerable is, I don't know. I feel like there's a weight off my shoulders with that, and there's less.
Must be nice.
It feels like there's less to carry around. There's less to hide, and I think just being fully open and honest is the only way any of us should be living.
That reminds me of
it's extremely hard.
Like my favorite David Bowie quote about being an artist. And he talked about like the reason that you get into art is because you want to you're trying to figure out something about yourself and about how you relate to the world around you and how you fit into everything, right? And I think what everybody this is very easy for me to say because I'm the one drawing the thing, right? And I'm not the one writing it here. But what all those people think about it, fuck them. Like it's not like I don't necessarily make a piece of art for. It's nice that this is popular consumable art. And I would hope, but that you don't worry about that stuff, right? It's not about that. It's about you figuring out you and getting your stuff out there. And that's
all right. Fine, guys. I'll try not to worry so much about it. All right.
There's one person in the audience. It reminds me of when fucking Jim Cameron's talking about Avatar, and the studio is like, "Why the fuck are we flying around for 10 minutes and doing nothing that advances the story? It's already 3 hours long, James." And he's like, it's in there because I want to see it. And it's fuck yeah, man. Who gives a shit?
Totally.
It's my thing. Yeah. That's it.
Totally.
That's Avatar in a nutshell. It's just like, what did James Cameron want to see that day on set? You know?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, this conversation is taking a turn in terms of like,
it got quite heady real quick.
Yeah. But I think that's interesting because this series is kind of the best of both worlds. We have that fantasy element in Rose's world, but also it feels like every time we go into the reality, her actual world, it feels like a little grimmer, right? Like the coloring. I'm looking at the pages right now, which I want to say really quickly. One of my favorite panels in issue 1. This is not really a spoiler, but Rose comes in and is talking to her mom. Her mom has her hand, her head in her hands, and at one point she goes, "How's the war effort?" Her mom says that to Rose, and Rose goes, "Good soldiers have fallen. It's a desperate hour." I just love that. That kind of like banter and just kind of the rapport that they have between each other. It feels very sincere. And if I had a daughter and she said that to me, I would be like overwhelmed with like joy and glee because she's that witty. You know what I mean? Like
she's a smart kid. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Rose in this, I really am slightly bummed that this doesn't come out for another month because I would love to just kind of pick your guys' brains on kind of, especially the first issue. Again, I've had the chance to read both the first and second issue, but this first issue, I think I cannot really implore people enough to, if for some reason you look at the cover and you go, well, for some reason I don't like Bob Q's art. I don't know why you would think that, but if you thought that for whatever reason,
they don't
there's plenty of people out there. Trust me.
That's silly. And I don't,
who do you think you are?
Right. But if you pick up this first issue, I think it will convince you to pick up the rest. I think this is one of the better setups that I've read in quite a while. Again, I'm not trying to just butter you up because I know you. I think this is truly, honestly, a great, I'm thinking specifically on the last couple pages where there's very little actual dialogue. It's a lot of onomatopoeias. It's a lot of realization from Rose's perspective, not only in the real world, but in her fantasy world as well. And it provides a mystery that, I'm clearly a fan of the medium. I know I've seen the hooks. I've seen the turn pagers. I'm a fan of Brian K. Vaughan. I understand what a good turn pager is. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen next. And I'm very excited by that prospect.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I think we sort of hinted at it a little earlier. I was saying that Ethan and I have, I think, a very specific idea of what an issue 1 is. Obviously, you want to do a fair amount of just like table setting, of course. But for me, an issue 1 is less about like narrative table setting and more about like tonal and character table setting. And then, but the thing at the center of said table is the one narrative like hook. And this cliffhanger you're talking about was that thing forever. And then we finally saw it realized and we were like, yeah, that works. That I think that sells it.
Yeah, to me, like the whole appeal of storytelling is questions, like, and mystery, and like, we've all had our talks about the whole mystery box thing, and obviously we don't like empty mysteries and things that don't pay off. And so the book will pay off, don't worry. But I'm saying what really drives me with like working on a story is like that you start something, and when you get to the end of that first chapter or that first issue or that first episode or whatever, you have questions that you need answered. And like, that's something that I'm really proud of. Yeah. With that first issue is that there are so many questions. And it's, the book like it's not too quick to reveal itself to you. And that's always so exciting to me.
It's all about curiosity, I think. And that's what we're looking for as writers as well, is things that we're curious about and kind of want to fall down the rabbit hole of. And we're hoping that readers feel similarly. And yes, Ethan is correct. The book will reveal all of it to you. I think in unexpected ways. We are going to take people on a topsy-turvy little roller coaster ride as far as getting those answers to you. It's not going to be super straightforward and hand delivered to you. This has been the most exciting part of writing it, has been like, what are all the perfect points to reveal this little detail and this little detail and this little detail until suddenly you have everything you need, and now you're ready for crazy shit.
Definitely.
Bob, from your perspective, again, we established this in the beginning of the conversation that you're the seasoned vet here. You've been here, you've done this, but this is your first creator-owned series, correct?
It's my first creator-owned series, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So what would you say, kind of along those same lines, what has been like kind of the most rewarding thing for you in terms of like going through this? You guys, obviously I'm sure you're probably, you said it, you're near the end anyway. So thus far, what has been the most rewarding thing for you?
Again, the most rewarding thing for me is not having to compromise. That is such a big thing for me. Is like every now and then when I've been working on these other titles, I would look back in a book and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm any good at this. You know what I mean? And because there's really no, I mean, like there's How to Draw Comics a Marvel Way, but there's really not like a textbook on really how to do comic page storytelling that. You know what I mean? Like every page is a new puzzle. Every page presents its own new problems. But by the end of the first issue and by the end of the second issue, and like, as it kept going on, I was like, I actually think I know what I'm doing, and I feel like I might actually be good at it for once, which is such a nice change of pace from the normal crippling self-doubt that comes in when I turn into a page. I'm like, I don't know, it's probably garbage.
No.
I think that's an important thing to note about this book in general, is that it's pretty unusual that like, especially with me and Griffin being like debut writers, that we're kicking off with a project where we don't have an editor on it. We don't have people giving us story notes. We've asked for feedback, but we don't have anybody else in charge of what's going on. And so it's like, it's two writers who are doing whatever we think is best, and we're trying our absolute hardest, and nobody's telling us what to do. And it's Bob who is fully controlling his process, and nobody's telling him what to do. And so it's just like, it's an unusual thing. It's like, you don't often see something come out with this level of, production and distribution and stuff that is just kind of like raw, like a few people just putting everything into it and like it being completely unhampered, like completely unrestrained. And I don't know, I think that's exciting. Like I think it's cool, and I hope more people get to do it, because it's kept us on fire the whole time, that it's just like everything that comes out is our call, so we have to do the best call at every possible turn.
Yeah, we've established that, Ethan and Bob both find that prospect of kind of no holds barred approach as being exciting. Griffin, is that daunting, or is that kind of a breath of fresh air, having that freedom?
No, it's definitely the only way I'd ever want to do anything, is completely without.
All right, you heard it here first. No big two for Ethan. They will not work on Silver Surfer.
I mean, don't let them tell you what to do.
We are.
I am officially cutting my ties to Griffin Sheridan.
Whoa, fuck. Oh, fuck.
The first issue's not even out yet. Damn it.
But the thing about it is, like, to tell a story without limits is like, like Bob was saying, to build something from the ground up is a super special thing. And that is our story. And over at the Big Two, I think it's about telling compelling stories with other, people's toys. Like they're not our stories to really tell. They're our instincts and sort of ideas to just give to the legions and legions of fans, and to play into a decades long symphony, to just provide a part of it. So it's a different thing for sure. I like, is that your maestro hand, Bob?
Bob just did
that's my that's my Dudamel.
That's how it's going to be when, like, every day that Ethan and I are writing Spider-Man, we'll be like, yes,
there it is. We've done it again.
It's that image of the dude on the beach playing the piano that's on fire. That will be everything of us at the Big Two.
It is for sure intense, though. Like, as we've talked about a bunch, like, it's like we've had people be like, "Oh fuck, I don't know if I'd want to start at Image. I don't know if I'd want my first stuff out there like that." Like, that's and so. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I think Rosenberg's analogy that he always uses is the perfect one, where he talks. It's Matthew Rosenberg has his car analogy to differentiate between creator-owned stuff and Big Two stuff, where Big Two stuff is like, you get in a car, you have a map, you have directions, you know where you're going, and it's about just taking the most scenic or exciting route to get from point A to point B. And usually that's a full circle. You come all the way back around by the time you're done with the Big Two character, or at the very least you expect it to come all the way back around to where you started eventually. Whereas creator-owned stuff is, you got to build the car, and then once you build the car, you got to just drive around, see where you want to go, and then once you kind of have an idea of that, then you do more driving. You plot out a road trip maybe. But it's so much more loose and vast and, broad, certainly.
Yeah. Well, we were speaking on Spider-Man just a moment ago, and
yes,
my first introduction to you two, before we had ever met at New York Comic Con, was actually the Spider-Man Rewind podcast that you guys had back in the day. At one point, for me, my only two podcasts that I was subscribed to was Rewind and The Weekly Planet, which I know you guys are a fan of as well.
Fans of.
Yeah.
But of course, now not only you guys writing this phenomenal series, but you're also facilitating 3 major comic book creator substacks. You've got KLC Press with Ryan Stegman and Donnie Cates. You have Jinx World with Brian Michael Bendez, and then you have, like we just said, Ashcan Press with Matthew Rosenberg. So, Ethan, what would you say has been, actually Griffin had just mentioned some really invaluable piece of advice from Rosenberg. What would you say has been the most invaluable piece of advice that you've gotten from a creator?
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's a great question.
My favorite thing is when I ask a question and Ethan says, "That was a good question."
They're great questions, dude. Oh my god,
I'm so glad.
Really...
Yeah,
that little smile every time you say it too. Chris is all like,
I
I'm killing it tonight.
You're murdering. Because I am a bit rehearsed at this point. You do keep getting me where I'm like, oh shit. I don't know. It has to be the thing that Donnie Cates told us early on of just like if you're gonna do this, then you gotta show up. Like when we were pitching it to Image, and he was like, "Are you sure you want to take it to Image? Because like it's it's not necessarily incredibly difficult to make it into Image, but it's incredibly easy to not be invited back. And so if you're gonna do it, you have to show up and take your biggest swings. Like I think that his exact words were like, it's like your first thing's got to be fucking loud. And I think that's like that's echoed in my head the entire time of the process. And it's like I think it's informed everything. Like John J. Hill, his design for the book is so striking and so unique, and it's just like everything about the book is presented kind of askew and weirdly. Like it's weird that half the cover is the title, and then the cover wraps around onto the back and there's more information there. The book starts in a weird place, it continues in a weird place, it's going to end in a weird place. Like that advice never stops ringing, where it's like, all right, follow the gut lurches, follow the ideas that get you tensed up and excited, and the things that you if you saw it on a shelf, you'd have to pick it up. It would just, your eyes would ignore everything else and go straight to that. We've had countless invaluable pieces of advice from all the wonderful creators that we've gotten to work with and even just chat with for a bit. Like so many people have been so kind to offer us so much guidance. And as he mentioned, Matt Rosenberg has been absolutely instrumental in everything we've been able to do, particularly in the last several months. But Donnie just kicked us off with our first feedback and our first advice, and like that, it just has never stopped reoccurring in my head even to this day.
Donnie, his first bow to Image, was it Buzzkill? Was that his first title there?
Oof, it might have been.
Yeah, which is a great jumping on point.
Buzzkill Image, or was that?
That could have been. I honestly, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say that it was either that or it might have been the Ghost Fleet with Daniel Warren Johnson. One of those two, I'm sure, were one of his first. But that I'm going to say this, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I feel a little bit of Kate's in this. Like is like, not that you guys are trying to emulate him whatsoever, but like the tone of like this kind of like, no matter how innocent you want to take this story, you can't. You just even if the parts in Rose's world and what again, we're not going to spoil anything, but what we kind of see towards the end of the first issue, even if we didn't see any of that, I still feel like there's something lurking somewhere behind a panel somewhere, and especially with some of these drawings, some of these kid drawings by Bob. I love that you did those, correct? You did the kid drawings. Okay,
I did indeed.
I know, like for some of the Batman stuff, Tom King will like draw the kid drawings, and it'll be Mitch's art in the back, or actual art.
Incredible.
But no, there's a sense of dread when she's kind of by herself, outside of Rose's world, that it really makes you want to keep going.
Right. We're definitely, because we're talking about finding our voices and stuff, but we're definitely in a lot of ways the product of a lot of our influences, because like these guys that we get to work with and we're friends with, like we adore them and we adore their work, and so it's inevitable that there's going to be little notes here and there. There's a couple of things that could be considered little homages to some guys' stuff that we love for sure.
And this book being built in the midst of us working with Ryan and Donnie, and Ryan was such a huge reason that I fell in love with comics, and the way that I sort of fell out of it when I went to college, and then Donnie roped me right back in, and so they're both just pivotal to my love for the medium. And I know it's the same for Ethan, and so it's impossible for it to not. At points, we're just pouring our hearts out on the page for everybody that's ever helped us out, but those two especially, for sure.
Yeah,
because it's our love letter to a lot of things, but even just to the medium and the things that we love about it.
So kind of speaking along the same terms, I've heard you guys all have completely different processes when it comes to like the day-to-day basis. You know, you got Ethan who needs the mood to be just right and the temperature to be right at 69 and like all the things. It's got to be in the middle of the day. And then you got, you know, Griffin will be up at all hours of the night just staring at a blank Word document, you know, until blunt force words hit that script. And then you have Bob who's got a very like normal routine, and he's got his rituals, and he's got his bagel and coffee, and then he just hits the drawing board every day at the same time.
He's a regular Joe Lunch Pail showing up to the construction site.
Hey kids,
just here to work and do your thing. And that's worked for you guys, right? Like that. Have you seen a change at all in your process as time has gone on through? You know, I know you guys have said you guys have changed a couple things in terms of like script writing and things like that, but like in terms of like your own internal process, have you seen a change as the series has gone on?
The first round of writing the whole thing, I would often go out. I would go to coffee shops and, you know, noise cancellation, sit there until the script was done. And I felt that getting out of my room would sort of, because I work from home. My bedroom is my office. And I felt that getting out of the house and sort of saying like, I'm not going back to the house until I'm done, was beneficial for getting all those initial ideas out, I guess. But I think when it came time to writing the book as you will read it, like when we were finally writing for Bob, it definitely changed into like, oh no, I have to get like real and emotional, and also I can't always just assume that when I go to the coffee shop I'm going to be in the right headspace to write this particular issue. It did start getting weird to write about horrific, terrible things in public and just like be able to look up from my fucking iPad and there's just like some bozo on his laptop doing whatever the fuck he's doing, and the Michael Bublé is fucking on the radio or whatever. So yeah,
that
it
is our
became
preferred
more
soundtrack
personal.
for this book is Bublé.
Yeah,
that's true.
The Christmas albums or what is there a specific? You know,
no, not the Christmas albums. Not probably 2013's "To Be Loved." I don't. Yeah. I think I might be on the money with that.
I couldn't have named a single, so that's good enough.
Everyone at home, he just pulled that directly out of his ass. We have no idea if that's true or not.
Wow. It sounds like a Michael Bublé album.
Yeah, absolutely does.
Yeah.
Bob, how about you? What's changed for you in terms of going through the entire series? Have you changed at all? I know again you've got it down pat in terms of doing the colors, inks, pencils, all the things. And also, this is digital, correct? I know that's probably a stupid question, but it seems like this is probably it is digital, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Except for one thing, Bob did paint a cover recently.
I did paint a cover recently. You know what? I've been doing this so long now that like I can't. The only thing that changes, like sometimes I would. What used to happen is that I would wait until I had 4 pages up to color, and then I would color all day, and then I found out that if I actually split it a little differently, I didn't end up working until 9 at night all the time. So basically all I did was I just changed the amount of work I was doing and what I was working on from day to day to just kind of keep things a little bit more even. That's it. Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder, right? That's
pretty
the
much. Yeah.
Ethan, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like I have to have the perfect conditions and all of that, and I'm very much about like waiting for the whatever you want to call it, the fucking like muse to visit me. But it's like, I have had to figure out how to be counter to that a little bit and force myself to write, because like as much as that is always true, that's how I work. Is like it's like you got deadlines and stuff, and so it's like. Sometimes it won't show up, and like it's really easy when you got mental health issues and you do work from home and it's really easy to go like, well, it's not here yet, so I just got to keep doing other stuff, and I got to wait till it shows up and I'll feel it and all that stuff. But like I think a big change was like I've had to make myself like, okay, I can't do anything else. I take the laptop and I sit here and I stare at it. And it will have to show up at some point. Like I have to sit here because like to me, like I love writing. It makes me really happy. But like starting writing, just like sitting and getting started is really painful. It's really hard. And so that has been the process of like how to make myself do it more regularly. and how to kind of get myself to power through that painful just sitting and staring at it for a second before you get into the groove of it. Yeah.
If I can offer anything to you, there is a lot of people these days have trouble because phones are so readily available, and you can constantly distract yourself with stuff. There's a lot to be said, and this is for burgeoning writers in the audience as well. There's a lot to be said for boredom. Like your brain starts to play when it doesn't have something to do.
It's true.
You know, and like when you're not feeding it a bunch of tweets and TikToks or whatever. Like once you start staring at the popcorn ceiling, right in those little crevices are a bunch of answers, and you just have to wait for them to hit you in the head, because once your brain stops being on autopilot to just sit around and absorb things that you're throwing at it, it kind of goes, I think I got some answers in here somewhere. It's funny. It just kind of works on its own. Yeah,
Bob, that is hilarious that you say that, and it's so on point because speaking of Brian Michael Bendis, we had him here on the show, and one thing that he did was that I'm so grateful for is that he recommended John Cleese's Creativity book. It's a really short, kind of just like less than 100 pages book of just how to be creative as an adult, because that's tough for some. We have to we're all adults here in this conversation. Most people listening right now are probably adults, and it's hard when you have so much going on in your life to just think, well, what if? Right? Like that's for some reason that is so tough. And John Cleese makes a point of it in the book to say the number one key to being creative as an adult is to be bored, because then your mind goes wild and you just think of all this shit that you can then you can kind of like hone it. You can cut down the edges and make it exactly the way you want it to.
Yeah, and it's also like we're being constantly flooded with entertainment and with media and like content in quotes and whatever, and so it's like it gets really hard to put yourself in the space of like, well, what doesn't exist that I want to exist? Because when you're on your phone, it's like everything exists. Everybody's done everything, and everything is happening all the time.
The word content literally meaning just like things that take up space.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we refer to all this stuff as content is literally just like things to put in my brain so that my brain can't do other things. And that's why I never read or watch anything. I stare at a wall.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach.
That's how I'm the greatest writer that ever lived.
Kill Your Darlings.
You heard it here first, folks.
Kill Your Darlings was brought to you by boredom.
Yes,
absolutely. And mental health issues.
I mean, we've talked about it. Like the idea for the book came from working a frontline job during COVID and the brain escaping that, and that's I think where all of our best ideas come from. Me and Griffin is just like we're doing something we don't want to be doing, and our brains are crawling away.
This latest, we've had a long time to work on the book. We've talked about it. We've been able to tinker and rearrange many times, and I would say this latest version. It was always the third act. The third act has been gone through so many different iterations, and this current third act came to me while or like this sort of arrangement of the third act should say came to me literally on the brink of falling asleep, and then it hit, and out comes the notes app, and it's 3 hours in the notes app in my bed, because it's like just on the cusp of falling asleep, the mind is wandering, and suddenly it clicked, oh, this is how we should do the third act. And what do you know, Ethan, we did it. We're in the middle of it. I think it's pretty good.
It could be better.
You're not great.
I think we need to talk.
Teed it up. And fucking foul ball.
Well, kind of along those lines, and I have one final question. This has been such a great conversation. I will say it one more time. I'm so happy and proud of you guys, and I'm genuinely excited to continue to ride this train of the Kill Your Darlings into the ether of time, and just see where this thing goes. So my final question for you guys, just before we close out the conversation, is which do you guys think personally is a more influential and important story to our generation? We have Kill Your Darlings, Watchmen, or the hit American crime drama series Tulsa King, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
That is the best question thus far.
That might be the best one. Yeah. Oh.
You're sarcastic,
I can't say the so I can't say the Family Stallone. No,
I'll
it's
say the
probably
Family
Kill Your
Stone.
Darlings.
Yeah. Oh,
Sure.
We'll
I'm gonna back us, and I'm gonna say Kill Your Darlings.
Kill Your Darlings,
Because as
okay.
influential, as much as Tulsa King has really changed the map, I think Kill Your Darlings is gonna rip that map up and draw you a new one in crayon, and it's gonna have a spooky monster
true.
in it. So
It's true.
Yeah. For everyone at home that's not aware, that's what we call an inside joke. There was a time where Griffin and Ethan and I, we through New York Comic Con 2022, anytime there was a dull moment or just like a silence, it was filled. That void was filled with a Tulsa King reference or a quote. Yeah. And it, to this day, is one of my favorite con experiences ever. Was us all just, we talked about it a little bit before the show here. One of my favorite moments was us just up super late at night, just quoting, just like when there was like a 2-second gap of silence, someone would say, "Are you serious?" And we all would just like start cracking up.
Oh, man, it was so it was very normal
shit.
stuff, not unhinged at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We were all completely in our right minds, and there was nothing. Just it was a good time, but
no substances.
No substances whatsoever. Well, gentlemen, I just want to again say thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Is there anything that you guys want to plug or highlight before we head out of this conversation here today?
FOC coming up. Fucking order it, you maniacs. What's wrong with you?
Order it.
Add it to your poll, goddammit.
FOC is 1 week away.
But when does
August
this come
14th.
out? When does this
So
drop?
this is actually going to come out next. So we're recording this on August 7th, and this will be released on Monday the 14th.
It's
FOC.
Wow,
that's FOC.
Today's
FOC.
Get to the shop now. Go now.
You're listening to it right now.
What the fuck are you doing? Go to your shop.
Go.
Get on Pullbox and put it on your pull. What are you doing? Why are you listening to this? Go pull it on your pull right now.
There's a couple of really great covers. There's a wraparound cover for every single issue by Bob Quinn. They are so fucking dope. I can't wait for people to see the later ones. We really start playing with the when we had the idea, it was kind of just like, okay, there's a wraparound, and we weren't 100% sure what to do with the back cover. We just thought it was cool that it was like a widescreen epic piece of work. But then as we kept going, we were like, okay, no, we can use the back cover to sort of further tease you. And so the later covers are even better. And each issue also has a cover B by Ryan Stegman. Again, extremely surreal to have that. And he's doing some really fun stuff with those. I highly encourage you to check those out as well. Ethan, tell them about it. Tell them why they gotta get the book.
If the last 15 minutes,
the whole time. No, I think like I said, I think it's a unique book. I think that it's not anything that's out there at the moment, and it is a team of 4 people just putting everything we have into it. It means so much to us. It is like the most personal thing we could make at this moment in our lives. And I think that's sort of the dream of independent comics, is getting to make something this raw and colorful and weird and exciting. And so, I implore you to give it a shot. And if you like that first issue, just keep it going, man, because we're gonna have surprises for you the entire way along. And so it's like, support independent comics, please. Give us a shot, check it out. Today's FOC, so I hope you're already full tilt just sprinting to the shop while you're listening to this. And also please subscribe to klcpress.com, because that's where we're going to have updates about this and everything else that we and Ryan Stegman and some other folks are working on. So we deeply appreciate it. Like, any support of this means the world to us, because it just makes it more likely that we'll get to make more stuff for you. So.
Yeah, and subscribe to Oblivion Bar and support them on Patreon or whatever.
Yeah,
if you got one, I don't know if you got one. Whatever you got, just get in there.
Patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod. Go check it out. You'll get this episode early. You actually get this on the 12th, which means that you will have more time to put it on
Patreon subscribers. There's no excuse. I'll be looking.
They're in there early.
I'm getting the logs, okay?
If you're a Patreon subscriber and it's not the 14th yet and you're sprinting, you can slow down to like a jog. But still go.
You gotta get there.
If you are a Patreon subscriber, you want to see the fruition of years of like 60, 70-hour weeks where it's this thing on top of the day job, just an absolute passion project on every single page. Kill Your Darlings, #1. That's the book for you.
Absolutely. I'll tell you right now, just to kind of close out the conversation, I'm truly excited to get that Ryan Stegman B cover, hand it to both of you to sign as not your friend, but as a loyal fan. Hand it to you, have you sign it. Then I'm gonna get that bitch slabbed, and I'm gonna sell it on eBay for a large markup. I can't wait.
Listen, we condone it, and we are gonna have our own booth in Artist Alley at New York Comic Con this year. So
no kidding.
People will be able to come see us if you'd like. Please,
slab a
we'll
book.
We'll be doing a panel with Ryan Stegman as well about KLC Press stuff, where we'll talk about this and everything else we're working on. So yeah,
incredible.
Very exciting.
One last thing before we head out, where can the people find you? Social medias, all that good stuff.
I'm on Twitter or whatever it's called at the moment. I'm at Tales to Astonish. I'm trying to get set up on the other stuff, but I don't have the energy.
Yes, that is
doing
correct,
other things,
Ethan.
Yeah,
we're promoting the hell of this book right now on a platform that is dying or is already dead. It's so hard broken. To tell.
I don't know. I really want Blue Sky to be it, but it just people for some reason will not jump off of X or Twitter or whatever it's called. The moment that the masses go to Blue Sky, I am deleting that fucking.
It's a little safety blanket.
We have 14,000 followers on Twitter. I will delete that without a second thought. I would feel nothing.
Yeah.
If everyone goes. Yeah. I'm at Griff Sheridan, GriffSheridan, on everything that is worth following me on. My Instagram's private right now, but that'll likely change soon, and you can all come over there and we can have fun, and it will be slightly less terrible than X, I imagine. But also over there on X, I'm still there, still talking about this book.
We're still there.
So you can find us over there at that, or again, klcpress.com. We're really curating a community over there. There's a KLC Press Discord that we like hanging out in. That's a lot more fun to hang out in that space than any of the social media platforms, I say. So come over there, join us for our live streams and everything, and hop in the Discord, and we'll just have fun chatting comics.
True. Let's see. I am on Blue Sky, robotjq.bluesky.social. I'm on Twitter at robotjq. I'm on Instagram, King of Smaster. I'm on Tumblr, A1 Courier. I'm on Mastodon, robotjq.mastodon.online. Are there any other ones? Any other ones?
Are you on LinkedIn?
I am actually, but but that's all my old video game stuff.
You have Threads?
No, I did not install that.
Good. Me neither.
No. Yeah, that's all the big ones, I think.
Well, great. Thank you guys once again. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully, we can get you back after this whole thing ends.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Spoiler
chat.
chat.
Awesome.
Heck yeah. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.